I don't know whether you've heard, but I'm offering some spaces in my calendar for Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Calls. I've had over 30 people book since last Monday. So if you want one of the last remaining spots, go and grab a space now. Go to fabfertile.com, that's FABFERTILE.com, and click on Book a Free Call.
It is what you believe it is. So if you believe it's hard, it's going to be hard. If you believe it's a struggle, it's going to be a struggle. If you believe that there's hope and that there's ease and that there's flow, there's going to be hope, ease, and flow. None of us are predetermined for anything other than what we believe to be true.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. And most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Jillian Bolanz to the podcast, and we're digging into how to tap into your feminine energy. So Jillian Bolanz is a life and business coach, writer, speaker, and facilitator. She is host of True You Live, an inspirational self-discovery in-person event, as well as host of the Morning Sunshine with Jillian Bolanz podcast, and the self-published author of True You, a self-discovery journal for the curious heart. The founder of multiple coaching programs and the leader of many in-person retreats and experiences, Jillian helps motivated women loosen their grip on force and control, lean into trust, and create the lives and businesses they truly want. She's helped women across America through this self-discovery and life business building journey, all while being home and present for her husband, her two sons, and her own true self. Check out our website at jillianbolanz.com. That's JILLIANBOLANZ.com. Before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Jillian, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So if you could share with us your journey and how you came into this field of work, and share with us your story.
So I'm Jillian Bolanz. I'm a life and business coach, and it's so interesting. Something that's really big for me is participating in my own transformation. So I have spent many a year, right, on December 31st, looking back over the year and being like, wow, how much has changed? I can't believe it. But now, I've had a shift in what I really want to do, and that's participate in all the change that's taking place, in all the growth, in all the struggle, also so that I can get to where I truly want to go. I want to be participating in that the whole way through. And it's not always been like this. It took a lot me unwinding, unraveling, unfurling into who I truly am. So basically what brought me to the entrepreneurial field is actually after having my first son. And I know that we're going to get into that a little bit more, Sarah, about how that even came to be. But I had my first son, and previous to that, I had gone through a really, really dark time. Negative self-talk, like it was my flipping job, just really tearing myself apart. Horrible body image issues, control issues. I was functioning purely in the wounded masculine at that point in my life. And I felt so sad. I felt so distraught. On the exterior, I was bright and sunshiny, but I was so wound. So tightly wound, it wasn't even funny. So fast forward, thank God I had a healthy pregnancy, had my first son. Then of course, that 9-month mark rolled around, and I really wanted to start fitting back into my clothes again. I wanted to start feeling better. I've always been athletic growing up. So, but things changed, and I couldn't just work out the way I've always worked out. Now I had a tiny human to care for. So I started looking and following inspirational people on Instagram because, what else are we supposed to do in today's day and age? We want to go to social media. Started following inspirational people, and actually ended finding a network marketing company that I felt super connected to. It was the first leap for me. It was helping me to change my body and feel stronger again, and not just focus on that number on the scale anymore, but focus on the beginning, like this is the beginning of my own self-discovery journey. I wanted to focus on strong and being strong and really stepping into my body in a different way. Well, I participated. I'm still affiliated with the company now, and I participated. We have an incredible team over there. But at the beginning of 2017, I just kept feeling that stirring within me. And now I recognize it as like my inner feminine goddess. Like she was starting to move. She was starting to pretty much like let me know in her beautiful way that functioning in that go, 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 do, 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 grind, sleep for 4 hours a day, lather, rinse, repeat, like that mentality, that functionality, the way that I had been living for years up until that point, it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. It wasn't an option for me anymore. So I started following my own little breadcrumbs along my path. This is when I went really deep into self-discovery in a number of different ways. And I recognized that there had been so much of myself that I had been hiding and subduing. And some of it was because that was the way I perceived was how I was going to get love and affection growing up. Some of it was out of shame or guilt or whatever. But eventually I found myself in this space of, oh my goodness, the network marketing company has been amazing, but that's not my thing. This was the launching pad into this divine business that I'm now running that's super congruent with who I am. And basically it allows other women to step into their truth, to go on that deep dive journey with me, and then to help them figure out in that beautiful feminine way, not that forceful, I got to figure that out, but be open to receiving guidance on how to impact lives of other people. Because the majority of the women who are drawn to me and my message, they want to do it for them, but they also know that when they do it for them, they get to be the start of the ripple effect that's going to change so many lives. And then they get to grow businesses out of their own truth. And so here I am today. And it's so exciting to be able to just go along that journey and share that with you so freely now, because it's not always been that lucid and that fun and exciting.
Yeah, like if you're going through, as you say, that negative self-talk, which so many of us do, that little inner critic like yelling at us all day long.
Oh yeah, she was mean.
Yeah, no,
she was mean.
Like you are not your thoughts. Yeah, and then body image, which a lot of people have, and then the control. Like a lot of women that come to me are like those type A overachievers. They get it done. They're doers, and the control. And then going through the fertility journey, it's a complete loss of control. And then that just brings up a whole bunch of other things kind of going on with them, and they don't know how to cope. And I had the same issues as well, because I'm this planner, control, and going with the flow seemed completely alien to me. And like, what are you talking
Yes,
about?
no, I totally agree. And, couple that with somebody with really intense body image issues, someone who is an over exerciser, under eater, tell her, okay, so you can't have a baby. And also now you need to start eating full fat cheese and stop exercising. And all of these things were so heavy on me when I went through this time in my journey. And I'm just so grateful for you and the work that you do, because we have to start talking about this more, and we have to start getting to the root more quickly than I was able to do.
Yeah. So for you with the over exercising, which I see this a lot, like over exercising and training for marathons, and then we're saying slow down. And that's how kind of, if that's what you do, is typically how you cope with stress. So how did you slow down during that time?
During that time was really difficult. I basically, oh gosh, I love that previous version of me so much, because it was really hard and she did it. And I'm really proud of her, because that time period was tough. What I did to slow down was I started really thinking about what it is I wanted. I would still run, but maybe not run as far or as hard or as long. And then I started experimenting. I started asking myself, okay, well, what would it feel like to actually give my body a break? What would it feel like to actually try something different? What if I just went for a walk today? What if I tried yoga instead of going out for a 10-miler? What would happen if all of these things? And of course, like the ego triggery side of me that I had been so predisposed to was like, well, you'll get fat. That's what will happen.
First thing came up. Okay. You're going to
Yes.
wait. Yeah.
But after that, I started to ask myself, like, okay, so what's actually the goal here?
Mm-hmm.
The goal here is actually to have a baby. The goal here is actually to experience pregnancy and bring another soul into this world. So what if I just allowed myself to indulge a little bit? What if I had the cheese and the chocolate? What if I did all these things and tried to make the most fun out of this time period that I possibly could? And things started shifting for me a little bit, but quite honestly, I dove pretty quickly into the IUI process, and I'm grateful for that because medically, like, once you're at a certain point, you really can't run because the fear of your fallopian tubes crisscrossing within you and the pain that would ensue. So participating in the process was actually a big deal for me at the time too, because I didn't want to harm my body. I didn't recognize that I was already harming my body by some of the actions that I was doing, but I didn't want to harm my body in terms of harming a potential baby. So when I started thinking in those terms and I started really getting super real about the process, that's when things started to just release a little bit for me, alleviate a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, just releasing a little bit. So it's not like completely going full tilt, but if you notice a little bit of like the foot still on the gas, but maybe it's not just down to the friggin' ground. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm not flooring it. I'm still going, but I'm not flooring it.
Yeah. And I like this quote from your website when you're talking, I was reading your bio there, and the Cinderella quote. So if you keep on believing, the dreams that you wish will come true. So maybe talk about how to, like, during dark times when things are just, you're in that, because a lot of people feel stuck during this fertility journey, like feeling stuck in a dark space. Like, how do you believe in that quote seems so Pollyanna and, believe in miracles, but how do you?
Well, for me, there was no other option. It was either believe, trust, do the very best you can to really, really get into that place, or continue being really freaking miserable. And I will say this too. A lot of people, especially women who are within the generation that I'm in, we grew up with the whole sensation of girls can do anything that boys can do. And not you can do anything that you want to do. It was girls can do anything that boys can do. And this is when the U.S. women's team won the Olympics, and Title IX started to really, really become prominently taught and spoken about. All of these things are so magical, and they were so beautiful, and they were so necessary in the evolution of female women in general. However, what that did for me was it kind of, and it's done for many people, it kind of forced me into assuming the masculine. And it forced me into saying, okay, well, of course I can do that. And it stopped me from really tapping into perhaps a little bit more of that flow that was innately in me. And so I actually now, after doing my work, I look at Cinderella, I look at fairy tales way differently than a lot of people. A lot of people think, oh, well, these princesses, they were just laying around waiting for their Prince Charming to come and rescue them. And my take on it is no freaking way. Girlfriend was in this place with horrible people, not in her ideal situation, and she continued to believe. She continued to smile and to have fun and to play with her mice friends and to dream. She continued to do that. And what happened? She manifested her dream life, because no matter how hard it was, she continued to show up for herself, because she in her soul knew that she was meant for more, and that her present circumstance was not any indicator to what was actually available for her. So I look at fairy tales way differently. I look at it as total female empowerment, and girlfriends are just showing us that truly you can manifest whatever you want if you allow yourself to just tap into that trust with just an unabandoned passion and belief, because it is available for you.
Yeah, so you're saying she's displaying the ultimate in feminine energy, really, just in the dark kind of times there, where she was believing and dreaming and manifesting what it is she wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, manifesting is Well, it's so fun to do it. Like, let's just call it what it is. It is so fun to actually like receive the thing that you've been manifesting, right? Like, I have this great story about how I manifested a blender once. Like, I broke our blender, and then I was trying to skate by without a blender, and that wasn't flying because I like to have a shake every day.
Yep.
So okay, universe, I am ready to receive a blender by Saturday. And I just said it and I released it, and I didn't feel any pressure because, I mean, life was not going to end if I actually didn't receive the blender. So like there was no pressure associated with it. And so that was a Thursday that I said that. Friday it didn't come. And that Friday night I remember thinking, oh, my blender didn't come today. I wonder when it's going to show up tomorrow. And then Saturday morning, I was sitting in my office. I had some quiet time. One of the kiddos was outside with my husband. One of them was napping, and I was actually writing a journal at this point. And my mom texted me a picture of a blender, and she said, oh, I have this for you. I know that you broke yours. You can have it if you want. Right? So like there it is. So like manifesting is fun, but you know what's even more fun than actually receiving the thing is participating in the joy of manifesting the thing. And that's what Cinderella was doing. And I know how freaking hard it is when you're going through this time period and you don't know. None of us know. But the options are live in that fear and in that anger and in that hatred,
Right. Yeah.
or do whatever it takes to create celebration and feel joy and feel gratitude, because that's where those high vibe opportunities are going to be drawn to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between masculine sort of giving energy and then feminine receiving.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's masculine and feminine energy in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are living in congruence with our truth, and when we are really at a place where we know who we are, and spoiler alert, friends, like we always get to learn and dig and know deeper. I just had a massive breakthrough for myself this past Friday that has shifted so many things for me. And I've been on my self-discovery journey and my truth knowing journey for a really long time. So there's always something, but there's masculine and there's feminine within us. And for the females out there, we often assume the role of wanting to do it all, wanting to give and give and give. And we often put ourselves last, and we often say we're not worthy of receiving. But actually our divine feminine, that's where the flow is created. It's in receiving, because as we receive, we grow and we learn and we discover even more, so that we can give, so that when we are ready, we can tune into our own divine masculine and we can give. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Go-Giver,
Mm-hmm.
but in that book they say that you can't, like, is it possible for our bodies to only breathe out? No, it's not. Like, we have to breathe in. So if you start to think about everything as a cycle, then it only makes sense that in order to complete any cycle, we need to participate in both sides of it. So yes, the giving is one thing, but giving without being able and allowing yourself to receive will only leave you depleted and unable to give more. So tapping into and acknowledging that we as women, we are programmed to receive, because as we receive, we create beauty. As we receive, we create things so that we can give back to the world in our own special, beautiful way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because feminine is more like being vulnerable, being compassionate, creative, empathetic,
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Whereas masculine is like the doing, achieving, the planning, the implementing. I was in corporate for HR for years, and it was a male dominated environment, and it was always do, and a lot of I worked with a lot of engineers, so it was do, very, very masculine. And I'm quite intuitive and empathetic, and I was in HR, so with people, but a lot of that was beaten out of me. So yeah, like I spent the last lots of years fine tuning that and bringing it back, and really, I know, and I've shared this story before on the podcast about whenever I was in my life coaching course, and a woman said, oh, I start my day and I just walk out the door, and I don't really know where it's going to go, and I just, I walk through the streets and I see what's going to happen. She was a successful businesswoman,
Yeah.
but she was just so in the flow. And I'm like, you are freaking bananas. Like, I was just like, what do you mean you're like doing that? And you're just, you're looking here and she has this beautiful red hair and she's just, waltzing down the street. And I thought, oh my goodness. I'm like, no, I got to like plan this shit out. I have to they create a list. I got to control it. I have to, if I don't plan it, it's not going to happen. So yeah, we get, and then that's that stuck feeling too, where on the fertility journey, we can feel stuck where we are. And a lot of it is like feeling stuck in that masculine side, like the rational mind.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Sarah, like you're not alone in that. I'm not alone in that. Literally, society has programmed that for us. Society has said, okay, here's your typical day. You've got 24 hours. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you grind, you come home, you go to sleep, and lather, rinse, repeat. Mm-hmm. And think about just us as females in general. Think about our cycle. Think about everything that shifts and changes for us. We are not linear beings. We have 4 main parts to our menstrual cycle in and of itself. Like, that's a lot. There's a lot happening there. Mm-hmm. And during each of those phases, we're experiencing different things. Our physical body is experiencing different things and doing different things. Our emotional self is experiencing different things. And to get up, go, come home, go to bed, get up, go, come home, go to bed. That's actually against the grain of what our body is programmed for. We have the most divine internal navigational system, but we quiet it, we numb it, and we are forced to subscribe to the very patriarchal way of doing and of going and of showing up. And I believe that in today's age, everything is amplified right now and everything is accelerated right now. And so women are being asked to make these changes, and it feels really freaking uncomfortable because it goes against everything we've been taught. But that intuitive portion within us is saying, sister, this isn't for you anymore. And it's really fascinating to watch the struggle that we as women as a whole may be feeling at times with that, because it's like, okay, I'm going against all my training if I do it this way, but if I continue to go as I have been, I'm going against all of my knowing, my deep knowing. And that's what we're being tasked with now. And my belief, and the reason I do the work that I do, is because I want my sons to look at me and say, my mom showed up for herself and she always was on a self-discovery, self-love journey. So that's the norm. Not this crazy crap that we're taught in the external world. I want to teach my children that the norm is self-love. The norm is tapping into your intuition. The norm is actually flowing with what feels great to you. Because I know that I'm just the beginning of the ripple effect. And I know that there are many generations to come. And I feel like it is our job as women right now to show up so that we can pave the way and make it easier for the women who will come in the future.
Yeah, self-awareness, really, like reflecting and sort of that's self-awareness, really knowing yourself. And I think a lot of the masculine, there's not a lot of time to reflect because you're just checking off that to-do list, going on to the next. And whereas, in the flow and in the feminine side of things, it is a lot of self-reflection and understanding, your strengths, things that, own your, I don't even like weakness, but own what it is that you're not the best at, put it out there and really focus on your strengths. It's like, that's what I teach my kids. It's like, okay, whatever. Everyone has things that they're good, that could be good and bad, but things that we're better at, and focus on those, and the rest of it doesn't matter. Like take the 7 to the 10 to, forget about the 2.
Yeah. And I think that the most important thing to recognize too is that divine masculine and that divine feminine, it's literally the yin and the yang. Like they work together, they go together. And so for the divine feminine to show up in her strengths and in her divinity and in her flow, she actually causes, when she's showing up like that, she allows for the divine masculine in her life to finally rest when he needs to rest. And this is not necessarily a guy girl thing, like I said, but when we're showing up in our strengths and we kind of have our goddess power on, when we've like showed up in our flow, we create the space to give the divine masculine in our life a chance to like lay his head and rest. Because truthfully, the masculine wants to provide, and the feminine almost wants that, like that safety and that protection. Girlfriend's she can do it all. But when she actually is showing up in a place that's in alignment with her strengths, and then she in turn gives the masculine the opportunity to rest, she's receiving his almost nod, like, I can count on you to rest on. So it's that beautiful, like, symbiotic relationship where we're in this together, you guys. And here's the thing. Masculine, they can do it by themselves. Feminine, they can do it by themselves. But isn't it so much more beautiful and congruent and as it should be when we're working together, when, like we said, like complete that cycle?
Yeah, the 50-50 rather right now, is it 80-20? Is it we're all, or is it, 90-10 that we're all stuck in the masculine side of things? Because that's how we've been programmed in school and life, and especially in a corporate environment. And so then is there a shift then to go way more towards the feminine, you think? Or?
Well, it's interesting. I just finished a book called Evolution of Goddess by, I'm pulling up my Audible right now, Emma Milden. And this book is freaking awesome. And what it talks about is actually that we have entered into the age of Aquarius.
Right.
And like, you have to sing the song afterwards in your head. So I just gave people a beat to do that. And it's funny because like we've been seeing lately, and I don't know if you've been seeing, I've been seeing it, but a lot of signage and logos and t-shirts and stuff like that saying the future is female. Oh, yeah. And in the book, she says, it's not necessarily that the future is female, because that gives the indication that the female is going to overpower the male, thus, again, putting us out of balance. Like, we've been in a very masculine dominated wavelength, and now if the future is female, then that means like ladies are gonna rise up and like grab our torches and we're gonna take over, and it's like pitting one against the other. And she said, actually, what I would like to begin a movement on is that the future is feminine, and it's allowing for that feminine to rise and the masculine just to sink a little bit, so that it does come back to more of that harmony, more of that balance. So no, I'm not in a state right now that I fear like, okay, ladies are going to rise and take over the world. Like, I truly believe, and I feel it on a cellular level, that we are being asked to look at the feminine. Both males and females are being asked to look at their divine feminine energy within them, so that we can allow that to rise, because it's not been a harmonious balance for a very long time. So we're ready. We're ready for the energies that surround us to have more of that harmonious masculine and feminine partnership.
Yeah, just like the body wants to come back to homeostasis, so does the energy.
Yes.
Yeah. And so as far as cultural programming that we're made for struggle, or that it's hard, or that, some people say that, disease runs in my family, so I'm destined for things. How do we get into, I like the quote by Christiane Northrup, who says, our beliefs are more potent than our genes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So my thoughts on that are, it is what you believe it is. So if you believe it's hard, it's going to be hard.
Damn right. Yeah.
If you believe it's a struggle, it's going to be a struggle. If you believe that there's hope and that there's ease and that there's flow, there's going to be hope, ease, and flow. None of us are predetermined for anything other than what we believe to be true. So there it is. Like, we can subscribe to all these things, but they're very fear-based patterns. They're very fear-based thoughts. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, if I wanted to continue being freaking miserable, then I could have continued being freaking miserable. That would have been the easy button. The more difficult button, the more challenging button, because it's not something that's taught, it's not something that's promoted, is tapping into, okay, what do I know to be true? Well, I know to be true that I am made of love and that only goodness comes from love and that abundance comes from love. So, what if we gave that a shot? What if we gave believing a shot? What if we gave trust a shot? I know what's going to happen if I continue subscribing to the bullshit that people talk about in terms of fear and disease and hard and yuck and all of these things. I know it's going to happen. That's laid out for me. But what if I tried believing in myself? What if I tried tapping in and knowing myself and following the intuitive hits that come by way of that? So if disease runs in your family, okay, that is an awesome fact that you know. That is amazing data that you've collected. So what would be the ways that you could counteract that? What is the data that supports the disease? What does that look like? What have the lifestyles of those people looked like? What is it that they have done so that you can learn how to tap into what you want to do and you can do things differently? It's all data, and we always have an opportunity to choose love. That's what it comes down to. We always have an opportunity to choose love and joy and to do things differently. And we get to do that. That's why we have free will. That's why that was given to us in this abundantly amazing world where God or source or angels or whatever it is you subscribe to, they know what we want. The universe knows what's available to us and knows what we want, but we have free will so that we can participate in it.
Are you struggling to have your baby? First of all, know that my heart goes out to you. I struggled with infertility just like you. So I want you to answer a question for me. Do you want to improve your chances of having a healthy baby? So if the answer is yes, then I'd love to help you. And I'd like to help you do it for free. So go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. So here's how it works. Right at this very second, you're probably stuck on one of these three things. So first of all, you're dealing with stress and constant worry. You're up late at night, scouring the internet for answers, leaving feeling even more worried and overwhelmed. Sometimes you find yourself worrying all day long, day after day, and the underlying fear is that you'll never be a mother. Number two, you're trying to eat healthy, stick to an exercise plan, take all the right supplements, get a great sleep, but life just keeps getting in the way. You have good intentions every week, but then you get busy and tired. And the last thing you want to do is focus on your health. You worry that you'll never stay on track. And number three, you're preparing for your next transfer. The IUI or IVF is coming up so fast. You can feel yourself overanalyzing everything. You know you shouldn't be stressed, but thinking about being less stressed just stresses you out even more. You don't know which diet, supplements, or exercise routine will optimize your chances. You're confused and worried that this is your last chance to be a mother. So which of those sounds most like you? The good news is that whichever it is, I can help you craft a plan to enhance your chances of conception for free. I'd love to spend some time with you. So here's what to do next. Just head on over to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and apply. So it's a really short application that just tells me about your health, how long you've been trying to conceive, and how soon you'd like to be pregnant. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend the 30 most valuable minutes on your fertility ever. So go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. And I think with fertility journey, a lot of people say, I'm struggling with infertility.
Yeah.
And there's the struggle and it's hard and it's dark and it is.
It is.
But then I was at a talk with Gabrielle Bernstein, and a woman got up in the audience and said that I'm struggling with infertility. And she's like, stop right there.
Yeah.
Time to reframe that I am struggling. She's like, the soul of your baby is waiting to come in.
Yeah.
He or he is waiting. Maybe a little more work needs to be done, a little more this, a little more that, but that little soul is waiting.
Yeah.
So it's your journey of where you are, which is really powerful, because a lot of times we get caught up in that struggle.
Yeah. And we assume that if anything like that happens to us, that we did something to deserve it, that we did something to deserve the struggle. And so we have to acknowledge and almost play the part of it. And we don't have to play that part. And here's the thing, it's so nice to get what we want, but it's even nicer to get what we want having fun in the process. and enjoying the process, because what we want oftentimes is not even the point. The point is to start rewiring yourself through the process. It's funny when I hear people say like, I want to make $1,000,000. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing to do that? And it's all, so $1,000,000 is in abundance. Like that's in that high energy state. And then they list off like a bazillion things that basically are them killing themselves to get that. And I'm like, okay, so you're doing everything in a negative energy to try to create a positive energy. That just doesn't happen. So for our ladies who are going through that very painful time period, I've been there, I know it. What are the little things that you can do every single day to invite a little bit of joy in, a little bit of celebration in, to recognize that you have been given this journey so that you can call in joy now, not when you conceive, not when the baby gets here, now, because it's going to be so much more enjoyable. Life is going to be so much more enjoyable if you can choose to have fun throughout the process. And then the creation of that which you truly desire is going to be that much more fruitful, because those higher vibe ways of living, ways of being, ways of feeling are going to provide you with that ultimate high experience. It's going to make it that much more meaningful.
And I always know I'm out of alignment because for me, patience is a thing. And I grew up in a family where my dad was like super impatient. He was an entrepreneur. He still is, but he's super impatient. I remember he'd like park the car, and if you didn't get out the car, like and I do this now too to my kids, but like we didn't get out quickly enough, I'd be like, oh, hurry up, or I was in a rush. And so for me, so that was kind of programmed in me early on. And I know I'm out of alignment if I'm like, why is everybody in my way? Why are people walking so slow? Why is this taking so long? How come every person I talk to is like, it's too slow, or the process? So then I'm like, oh, so then kind of to pull it. So for me, that's a trigger for me that I know I'm out of alignment. If I find that and it starts to see in every parts of my life that things are not going as fast as I want. And if I go back and pull it back to just know that this is going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Kind of like sink into that a little bit and know that like each little step that I'm making along the way, whatever it is I'm doing, actually move it along. And it's not again with the gas, plowed to the, foot to the ground, and I'm just burning through life. And, I got a whole bunch of like tenseness and things where it's like, no, I'm still going along, but I'm going along in a nice way. So for me, patience is that like, ooh, masculine.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Mine is seriousness.
Yeah.
If I find myself getting too serious, you guys, like my podcast is named Morning Sunshine with Jillian Bolanz. Like I am freaking sunshine, you guys. Like I am predisposed for joy and for celebration. Like my high vibe, my smiley face, like this is not an act. This is actually how I am. So when I pull serious, that's when I know that I'm out of alignment. When I'm like, well, this is just everything's feeling heavy, right? Like that's a big thing for me. If things are feeling heavy, if I feel myself getting really serious, if I can't remember the last time I laughed, if I can't remember the last time I like enjoyed playing with my kiddos, I know I'm out of alignment. And Sarah, like the thing that I just had a massive breakthrough on a bunch of things recently, but one of them has been, okay, so when I get too serious, I stop celebrating. And when I stop celebrating, I actually stop inviting in joy, which is what I'm predisposed to do. That's where manifestation occurs, is when you're in joy. So when I'm too serious, I stop celebrating, but I forget that we can create the celebration for ourselves and get back into that state of joy. And what I recognized was that feeling of being too serious. And for you, like that feeling of like, you need to rush and like, why is everybody going so slow? And that impatience, those are actually blessings. Those are divine gifts, because when we are feeling things that we don't like to feel, like, do you like to feel impatient?
Well, no, it drives me crazy because I literally am like,
it drives you crazy, right? Like
it is a thing though. I start thinking though, I'm like, what? I'm so fast. Why is everyone so slow? Like if there is a I'm better, or like there's a lot of crap comes up for me.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. And you don't like it, right? Like that's not a good feeling.
No.
Like when I get serious, I don't like being serious. I don't like feeling angry. I don't like those things. And so when we feel those negative emotions, that's actually our inner being, our soul, our truth, our source of love, call it whatever you want. That's actually our truth letting us know, like, hey, girlfriend, you're a little bit out of alignment right now. And you can recognize this feeling that you don't like. So this is what I'm going to give you, because that's what's going to invite you back into that flow. So I look at the seriousness, I look at the anger, I look at the anxiety, whatever it is. I mean, it could be doubt, it could be procrastination, it could be anything that resonates with you that doesn't feel good. When you feel those things, it's actually a huge blessing, because it's an invitation to look at, okay, what am I doing now that maybe I've always done and that's worked for me, but doesn't work for me anymore? What am I doing that's not working in alignment with what I truly want, so that I can change it? So I love this conversation. I've been having this a lot with people lately, because it's just so potent that we recognize how powerful our inner being is, how powerful that truth source within us is. She lets us know when we're out of alignment by making us not feel good. And then we don't want to not feel good for a long time. So we're going to do what it takes to get back to feeling good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as far as, so some people may see the sort of these feminine attributes as weakness. You know, you're too emotional, I don't know if you can say you're too kind, but it's more the emotional thing, or vulnerable. You know, why would you share that? That's too much, or maybe you are too much. And so people that are more in the masculine energy, overachievers, doers, type A kind of things, how do we, because there is in society that this is weakness.
Yeah, I lived there. I have that t-shirt. I believed that for a long period of time. But the truth was, the reason why I believed that was because I was literally shunning a part of myself that I wouldn't allow to come up. So if I saw other people being emotional, internally, I would actually think, I wish I could let myself do that, but I can't, because I've been programmed this way. And so when that comes up, it's the invitation for us to look at, okay, what is it that we're being asked to do? What is it that we really want right now? And I always say this too, like if you ever find yourself saying, I'm too of something, I'm too emotional, I'm too much, then you're simultaneously saying, I'm not enough of something else. So that's the harmony invitation. That's us saying, oh, wait, okay, why do I feel this way about myself? What am I craving on the other side of things that could help me balance this out a bit more, so that I feel totally in congruence with who I am? And truthfully, other people's opinions of you have nothing to do with you.
That's right.
So
It's none of your business.
it's none of your business. It's totally a reflection of what they have or don't have within them, what they've locked away and they're not willing to look at within themselves. So keep on feeling those feelings, keep on doing those things, because you are always learning how to become the best version, the most harmonious version of you. And if somebody else has an opinion on what is too much or too little, like I often say this too, too according to who? You're too much according to who? Somebody else? Okay, well, awesome, because that's a direct reflection of what they feel like they're lacking. And so you bringing that up and you showing up in your divine state, you are triggering something for them, which are actually doing them a huge favor, because that's the invitation to them to start digging into their own stuff. Has nothing to do with you being too much or too little of anything.
I started doing this embodiment work in the last, just in the last couple of weeks, actually, where you're doing really big belly breathing. And then it goes into, as you do the belly breathe, you actually are doing like sighing and like a lot of noise and letting basically like hissing and yelling. It's kind of like, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds insane.
Yeah.
So I was doing this like breathing, and then I'm like yelling or whatever came out, and these noises just come out. And you're like, oh my goodness. And then another part of it is then she has you kind of rock your pelvis. So to kind of like that whole womb space and that feminine side of it, because a lot of it is like we're constricted down there, and we're we're not tapped into that energy and letting some of those things out. And when you're sometimes and this is like a half-hour process that you go through, and you're breathing and then you're yelling, then you could be crying, and to kind of release that things. And like, I am not a huge crier. It's not part of my thing. I'll look at commercials or something. Not who watches commercials anymore, but I look at, maybe a movie that makes me kind of cry, but I don't go to crying. I'll go more to anger if I'm upset.
Yeah.
During this process, she's like, you may cry, you may have a release. And I'm like, no. And then at the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, all these tears are coming out. And I'm like, I couldn't say what I was sad about, but you feel like there's a release. So to be able to like tap into that power.
So powerful. And it's so powerful when you give yourself the space to do that and to just trust your body and trust your soul. Like, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, so just back to the mask on the side, which is like, we may feel like that rigid and stuck. And I talked about going with the flow and like getting into our heart space, like to how, because especially on the fertility journey, right? We could feel stuck where we are, that we're not, because really the whole thing is, if you're on your fertility journey, you want to be pregnant right now. You want to have your baby. And it's like, well, why isn't it happening? And we get like constricted, even to do the belly breathing. You're like, let the belly hang. Like, what are you talking about? I can't even like let it out. It's like everything's stuck in, and we're rigid. How do we like just kind of like shake it all out and get into that like, let our heart lead us along?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it's going to be so individual for each person. But I gave this example to a client the other day, and it worked really well. So I live in Maine, and it snows here. It snows here in the wintertime. And that feeling of stuck, it's kind of like looking at your car. You really want to get to Florida, right? We live in Maine. So Maine in January, like, you want to be nowhere else besides somewhere sunny and warm. So you really want to get to Florida, and you know that you could just hop in your car and get to Florida. But unfortunately, it's stuck. It's stuck in snow, and there was a huge bank behind you, and you're not going anywhere. Even if you turn on the car and you get the engine running and you sit in it, you're still not going anywhere unless you grab a shovel and you start moving the snow. And maybe you've got people there that also want to go on the road trip with you, and they're going to grab shovels too to make it that much easier. So it's doing something. There has to be an action. To get out of stuck, there's going to be some sort of action. That car isn't going anywhere until the snow is removed. You and your state of you're feeling stuck, like, you're not going anywhere until you move something. So that looks so different for so many people. Sometimes, in order to raise the energy and unstuck the car, people need to have a dance party, right? Like, literally, grabbing their cell phone, grabbing Spotify, and having a dance party just to raise their own physical vibration, just to create the smile. Because when we dance by ourselves, it's silly and it's often ridiculous, and you have to smile. For some people, the action is having conversations with people that you trust and being able to open up, and also being able to receive their love. That's the shovel. For some people, it's journaling it out and it's releasing. Like you said, it's participating in really energetically sound practices that feel good for them. But the point is, there's got to be some sort of movement. It doesn't have to be forceful movement. You're not going to grab the shovel and try to like pick up all the snow with one swoop. No, it's going to take chipping away. You're going to have to like take off that first layer, and God forbid there's ice underneath and then snow underneath, right? Like, there's stuff there, but you get to do it. You get to move. You get to grab the shovel in a way that feels good to you. And I think if we held ourselves to that standard, to what do I want? What feels good? And what feels fun? So many things start to open up for us, because we don't ask ourselves that very often. We ask ourselves, what should I be doing right now? What do I need to get done? But if we started shifting that to like, what do I really want right now? Maybe I just want to go take a bath. Maybe I feel stuck because I haven't allowed myself any luxury, and drawing a bath is something that I really want. That would feel good. That would feel fun. then allow yourself to follow the intuitive hit and go do that. Right? Like there's so many different moving pieces to it, but it's action in some sort of way. And that action doesn't have to be that masculine, like go bust it out in force. Like it can be that feminine, like, you know what, this is what feels good. The masculine has that very logical, want to think it out. The feminine has that very emotional, want to feel it out. So let's tap more into that. What feels fun to you and how can we follow that?
Yeah, with the car analogy, I would, and have done this, was basically go out and gun the freaking engine and blow it out the back.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And like that's not
I'm gonna
that's not good for the car. That's not
right.
good for your anxiety. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, so now asking for help, and those things where it's like, no, I will do everything by myself, and I'm fine. I'm really fine.
I can do it. I can do it. Of course you can. We know you can do it. We know that we are capable. Ladies, we are freaking amazing beings. We know that we can. But when we recognize that we don't want to do it all by ourselves, oh my gosh, that's divine feminine power right there. Recognizing that you want something else, you want something different, and then allowing for yourself to receive it. Sisters, like boom, that's it right there.
Yeah, and the bath really helps you get into those like 5 senses. So sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. Like getting into, and in the bath, you can actually do all of that. And that's sort of like even getting into like the sensual side of things too.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm, the feeling. Any other tips you can think to tap into the feminine? So dancing is a good one.
Oh gosh, like there's so many and it's going to be so individual for people. Dancing, I'm a big journaler. I love meditation. If we're talking energy, maybe drawing cards and asking yourself like, okay, spirit, energies, like tell me the message that you want me to receive, and draw cards and play and have fun. And that's the biggest thing. Tapping into your energy, your female energy, comes from playing. It comes from having fun. It comes from creating. So maybe you want to go for a run and create a really beautiful experience for yourself. Maybe you want to paint and just allow for the paintbrush to, fill up the canvas in a beautiful way. I have a client that she has found that painting walls, like redoing her home, redoing furniture, puts her in such a meditative state of flow, because it's that repetitive motion, but each motion adds upon the other, and it's a process. Like you are literally creating something. So just the repetition and her breathing, it allows for her to really tap into a state of joy, because that's really fun for her. So that's the key right there, is what feels fun. Play, be silly, take care of yourself, have a good time, smile.
Yeah, the smiling piece is good, right? Where some people are just walking around and actually, if you walk down and sort of smile at everybody smiles back. It's not, but if you walk down, you don't look at anybody in the eye. And like I walk my dog a lot. If I'm grumpy or something, I don't look at people and they don't look back at me. But walking down the thing, I'm like smiling and hello. It's not like obnoxious or anything, but it's just sort of a quick smile and hello.
And who cares if it is obnoxious? If it feels good to you, then who the hell cares? If that's fun and if that's life-giving, then smile obnoxiously.
Yeah, do what feels right for you.
Yeah,
not feeling judged. Yeah, and like for me, it is being out in nature. I just really like being outside. I live just outside of Toronto, so we have all the 4 seasons, and I do love summer. So I love summer, but I literally, because my dog is about 1.5 years old, and I thought, okay, this with this dog, I will. Because my other dog, I didn't necessarily embrace the winter with the dog, and we didn't go out walking with her as much. And this one, I'm like, okay, I want to take this dog walking like every day. And I do not love the winter, but I'm like, I'm going to go out there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I had my hat on. I had my jacket. And actually I didn't mind the winter, because I was like, look at the snow and the sun on the snow and really, but I can feel it happening now as we're changing seasons. I'm like, oh, summer's going. I feel like upset, but I'm like, no, each season is different. So just sort of being aware that I'm gonna start going to the pattern of like, oh no, I hate the Canadian winter. This sucks. Well, no, we can shift that. And there's actually lots of fun things and different things to do in the different seasons.
Right. Exactly. And it's so powerful. So what feels fun?
Yeah, exactly. So as far as any kind of resources that you have, is there you mentioned a couple of books during our time here, but is there a book or a website or an app or anything that you think is cool and want to share?
Well, like I said, that Evolution of Goddess by Emma Milden is amazing. I also have a dear friend. Her name is Chris Britton, and you can go to chrisbritton.net. And she is all about stepping into and really diving into your inner goddess. And she does a lot of work with knowing yourself and oils and meditation. And she is a wealth of knowledge. I have learned so much from her. And she's actually got a podcast called the Goddess Boss Podcast. And it's an incredible source. And so I highly, highly recommend her. Those two are like kind of what's been really shifting a lot for me lately.
Okay, so Evolution of Goddess, and then Chris Britton, BRITTON.net?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
KRISBRITTON.net. Yeah, she's amazing.
Awesome. And yeah, a success story you'd like to share with us.
Oh, yay. Yes. I'm so happy to share this story because I wasn't ready to share it even a few months ago because I was still so deep in the journey itself. But like I shared, I've got 2 sons, actually. Both are IUI babies. And I'm so grateful that we live in a time where medicine can help us with that. But the fact is, growing up in my teens, I got a period, but it was very sporadic. And when it would come like maybe twice a year. And for like 3 weeks at a time, it was like Niagara Falls. It was awful. Like not your ideal period experience. But nobody was talking about the period or the menstrual cycle as something to be celebrated. Like it was an annoyance, and it was hard, right? Like that subscribes to that this was hard and this gets in my way. And that's a very masculine way of thinking because it's like, oh, I'm too busy to get my period. I'm too busy to deal with this. So not getting my period on a regular cycle seemed like a blessing at the time because I had too much to do. Like I couldn't worry about that. Went on birth control when I was 18 and stayed on it until I was 25-ish. Mm-hmm. And so I got a period then, but it was synthetic. It was from the hormones that were in the pills. And when I went off of it, when I was 25, my husband and I were in that stage where we were not trying, but if we got pregnant, then cool. Well, turned out that my period never returned. So getting pregnant naturally did not appear to be something that was going to come easily for us. And that was hard. And again, I'm reiterating, this is the time of my life where I was functioning in fully wounded masculine and really unhappy and picking myself apart. And so this was one more brick on layering on of I'm broken. I'm not good enough. My body doesn't know what it's doing. I'm not enough. So went through the IUI process, and because my doctor looked at me, he goes, well, I went to an IVF specialist, and he said, well, we can try to figure out why you're not getting your period, or we can get you pregnant. And I was like, duh, let's get me pregnant. Who cares, right? Like, who cares? That was my mentality. I don't care why I don't get a period. I just want to have a baby. So super grateful. I was able to have my 2 beautiful sons. One is now 5 and one is now 2. And that was what a blessing. But at the beginning of this past year, 2018, I recognized as I was doing my self-discovery work, as I was starting to really tune into my feminine power and my feminine energy, I recognized how much I had buried under the surface of feeling completely broken. Of feeling like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? And so I started asking the question, well, why? Why don't I get a period? I'm a woman. I'm healthy. I've got a functioning body. Like everything else seems to be working. Like, why don't I get a period? And it was fascinating because I recognized that in my 32 years here on earth, this was the first time I ever asked why. So I personally went on I made a huge commitment to myself that I really was going to do what it took to allow, not just to forcefully figure it out, but to allow for myself to experience healing and gain help in a way that I never have before. I started going to a physical therapist. At first, it was for my pelvic floor, having 2 babies and tearing and all sorts of other things, and a lot of energetic anxiety that I was holding on to. Intercourse was super painful, and there's just a lot of things that that base of our body, that root of our body, is in charge of holding together. And it was time for me to really dive into healing that area. Well, of course, when you start focusing on that area of the body, it leads into every other area your body and of your life. So I started on this journey. I started doing a lot of deep energy work, journaling, really being mindful of food that I was putting in, exercise I was doing, and I was allowing for myself to witness old triggers, witness old charges that I had put on food or drink or experiences that were hindering my body from working in that cyclical pattern. And I invested in many coaches to help me with a lot of different things, physically and energetically, and went to a naturopath and started taking more of that Eastern medicine way of looking at things. And my success story is that in August of 2018, I had my first natural period in 14 years, and my first period at all in 7 years. And this was after having 2 babies. So, and we're still on the healing path. We're still on the journey. A lot came up for me during that time, and I'm still in the process. Like, I'm waiting for that second period to show up now. And it's that like, eek, I hope it comes. But again, that Cinderella feeling of like, of course it's going to come. Like, because the dream that I wish will come true, because I have been focusing so deeply on this. And I think my biggest takeaway, Sarah, is that I'm not freaking broken. Nobody is broken. None of us are broken. We may have different challenges. We may have different things going on. We may have different imbalances, but they're always an invitation back to asking who we truly are, what we truly want, and how we can help ourselves to heal.
Yeah. And you showed up for the miracle. It's sort of, you did like a lot of work, a lot of healing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for giving me the space to do so.
Mm-hmm. So you have a transformational time management tool, which sounds slightly masculine, but maybe feminine. Share with us exactly what that is for the listeners.
Well, it's so funny because a lot of my tribe, like the biggest thing that they will say is, I don't have time, right? Like busy moms, I don't have time. I'm taking care of everybody else. Or working women, I don't have time. Like I go to work and then I come home and I feed the kids and I go to bed. Like I don't have time. And the fact is we do have time. We just have, again, been programmed to having to allot our time to things that don't freaking matter and don't bring us joy, essentially. So what is recognized in this world is time management, right? We all want to learn how to better manage our time. Well, for me, I said, okay, like I'll go there. I'll play that game. You want to learn better time management. What I'm going to give you is that very feminine, transformational opportunity to look at time management. So I created this time management tool, which does have actual physical pages that you can write on. It's got that very logically minded, like, got to get things done. How can I better manage time? Like it helps you to get your thoughts on paper and plan it out. So that is more of that masculine side, which again, we need. Right. We can't just live in like the floaty feminine world. Nothing's going to get done. And like sisters, we've got work to do and we've got divine work to do. So let's do it in a way that feels super good. So I give you the checklist and I give you the pages to really plan things out. But in this time management tool, I help you to transform. I help you to step into, and like I said at the beginning, participate in your own transformation. So I do a lot of training on worthiness. I do a lot of inviting you to step into the understanding that you are worthy of the time that you create for yourself. Nobody's going to give you more time, but you can create more time. And oh, by the way, you are worthy of that. So there's a lot of feminine, beautiful, flowy qualities to this tool that is going to help really harmonize for you, like getting shit done, but doing so in a way that you truly know that you deserve and you're worthy of. So if you want to head to jillianbolanz.com/free gift, that is available for you.
Awesome. Great. So I'll have a link in the show notes for that. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, Jillian. It was really, I love this conversation, and thanks for sharing and being so open and honest with us.
Yeah, thank you for this space. I really appreciate it. And ladies, you're worth it and you're doing it. So keep going. You are so, so loved.
Hey everyone, we're getting super booked up for our functional testing and couples coaching program and have very limited spots available. So we ship our functional test kits worldwide, and we use food sensitivity testing using blood. We look at hormone testing using urine. We use the Dutch test. We look at stool testing, looking at the DNA of your stool. We also do hair tissue mineral analysis. All of these tests are included in our couples coaching program. So there's only 4 spots available for January and February. So if you're looking to have your baby in 2019, especially if you are struggling with low AMH, POF, POI, or low ovarian reserve, please click on the link in the show notes to book your free call. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, Medical Director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and Chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.